every night she dreamed. Not the kind of dreams that disappear the moment you wake up. Hers felt like places she had visited before, places that somehow remembered her. Sometimes she would sit by her window before bed, wondering where she would go that night. She never knew what waited for her once she closed her eyes. She kept a journal beside her bed, and every morning she wrote down everything she could remember. Strange cities, endless oceans, doors that led nowhere, and places she was certain she had never seen before. That night seemed no different. She climbed into bed, watched the moonlight move across the ceiling, and waited for sleep to find her. But the moment she closed her eyes, something felt wrong. There was no forest, no ocean, no impossible city waiting for her. There was nothing. She stood completely alone in the endless darkness. She called out, but even her own voice seemed to disappear around her. For the first time in as long as she could remember, she couldn't find her dreams. Then, far in the distance, a light appeared, and beneath it stood a door. She had seen thousands of doors in her dreams before, but somehow she knew she had never seen this one. As she moved closer, she noticed a tiny golden crescent moon hanging from its handle, the same symbol that had been on her dream journal for as long as she could remember. She hesitated, then slowly turned the handle and stepped through. On the other side was a railway station. Old, silent, completely empty, as though it had been waiting years for someone to arrive. Her footsteps echoed beneath the enormous arches. There were no voices, no announcements, no passengers rushing for their trains. Above the platform hung an enormous clock. The hands pointed to 3:17. She waited for them to move. They didn't. And then she saw it. A midnight blue train resting silently beside the platform, its windows glowing warmly through the mist. The doors were already open. She didn't know where the train was going, but something inside her whispered that she was supposed to be on it. Every carriage was empty, yet the lamps were burning and the seats were warm, almost as if the passengers had disappeared only moments before. Then she noticed something lying on one of the seats. A ticket. There was no destination written on it, only a small golden crescent moon. Without warning, the train began to move, slowly at first, then faster. The empty station disappeared into the darkness behind her. She sat beside the window and watched as the world outside began to change. Fields stretched beneath enormous stars. Mountains appeared where there had been none. Lonely houses glowed in places no road could possibly reach. She watched her own reflection in the glass as one impossible landscape after another passed by. She had the strange feeling that she wasn't traveling somewhere new. She was traveling somewhere she had forgotten. Eventually, the train stopped beside an endless field. In the middle of it stood a small house. Its door was already open. Inside, everything felt strangely familiar, not because she remembered being there, but because some part of her seemed to. On an old wooden table sat a tiny red paper boat. The moment she touched it, a memory returned. She had dreamed of it when she was a child. A flooded street, warm windows glowing through the rain, and a little red boat she had watched disappear into the night. And suddenly, she understood. These weren't new dreams, they were old ones, dreams she had forgotten. Soon she found herself on an endless street filled with doors. Behind one was an ocean beneath a purple sky. Behind another, a staircase climbed endlessly through the clouds. Another opened into her childhood bedroom, where snow fell gently indoors. She passed faces she couldn't name, strangers who somehow felt like old friends, people who had existed for only one night, then vanished when she woke. Everywhere she looked, another forgotten world was waiting. Oceans, forests, cities, storms, stars, an entire lifetime of places that had once existed inside her. But at the very end of the street, there was one door she didn't recognize. It was enormous, dark, and unlike all the others, it had no handle. She slowly moved closer. Written across the wood were 4 words: "Do not wake up." She stared at them, unsure what they meant, and then somehow the door began to open. But there was no ocean behind it, no strange city, no impossible world. There was only her bedroom. Sitting beside the window was a little girl. For a moment, the dreamer simply stared at her. The messy dark curls, the familiar eyes, the tiny golden crescent moon held carefully between her hands. She knew that face. It was hers. The little girl looked up at her and smiled, as though she had been waiting. Together, they looked through the window at all the impossible worlds beyond it. Worlds she used to visit without questioning how they were possible. Before growing older, had taught her to forget them. The dreamer looked back at the little girl. She wanted to ask her so many things. But before she could say a word, the room began to disappear. Golden light filled the air around them. She reached for the little girl, but her fingers passed through 1,000 tiny pieces of light, and then she was gone. She opened her eyes. Morning sunlight filled the room. For a few seconds, she didn't move. She tried to hold on to the dream, the station, the train, the endless doors, the little girl. But already, the memories were beginning to fade. She reached for her dream journal. She couldn't remember everything she had seen, but she remembered one thing: the blue door. That evening, she opened her journal and began to draw. A tall blue door, a golden crescent moon, and somewhere beyond it, a train waiting in the darkness. Maybe dreams don't disappear when we wake up. Maybe they simply go somewhere we can no longer follow. And somewhere, beneath a sky filled with stars, the midnight blue train continued its journey, its windows glowing, its carriages empty, waiting for the next dreamer to remember. Some dreams disappear when we wake up. Others are simply waiting for us to return.